取材じゃないんですね。
ああ、
取材。
大丈夫です。はいはい
はい
はい。すみません。ごめんなさい。Can't film. We are here at well, just past the entrance of Yasukuni Shrine. As you could tell earlier, we were asked not to film inside with the microphone on. And that's because this is an incredibly sensitive shrine, not just in Japan, but in world history. There are 2.5 million Japanese war dead enshrined here, from the start of the Meiji era when the emperor took back control of Japan up until 1945 when the imperial system was forced into collapse. And it enshrines the loyalty to the emperor. It's a symbol less to war and more to straight loyalty to the imperial system. And it started in a Japanese civil war where the emperor was taking back control. And so the imperial system comes back into play, and the emperor now needs to sort of venerate those who gave their lives for him in this civil war. And so they do so with this shrine, Yasukuni. But as Japan's empire grows, just like with all empires, you sort of end up with a more complicated history, because as an empire expands and takes land, the people who are already in that land are of course going to see the expansion as troubling, as atrocious, as war. But you still enshrine them here. And so as World War II comes along and the true atrocities begin to unfold, and we see over 1,000 war criminals enshrined here in Yasukuni, things start to change. The major reason things change is because the American government decides that the imperial system in Japan is over. And what's more, there's going to be a separation of church and state.
Something I should note that I personally agree with. I don't mean to insinuate it was the wrong move, just that all things have consequences.
And so this, once a state-run shrine, now has to become privately owned. So America gives them two options. They say, we're going to burn it to the ground, or alternatively, you can separate it from the state. And obviously, they choose the latter of the two. And in doing so, what America does is hands the keys to this important shrine of loyalty over to the ultra-nationalists of Japan. It's bought up by a corporation, a religious corporation, that flat out denies World War II atrocities. There's a museum here that I think is almost the core of this denialism in Japan, just right off of the Imperial Palace. This Yasukuni, this museum here at Yasukuni, it denies fundamentally atrocious acts of World War II. It even denies that Japan started the war with the United States. It claims that the US goaded them into the war. It claims that they didn't have comfort women, hundreds of thousands of forced prostitutes. It claims that they did not massacre the civilians of Nanking. And all of that's of course untrue. But if you're on the losing end of a major war, and your entire society is shifted by foreign powers, in this case the United States, it can be understandable, at least in a certain regard, to why they would do that, to why there would be this pushback against this idea that they were atrocious, that they committed these war crimes, that they don't have a right to venerate their war dead. And if you look at other countries, especially other countries that have won wars and therefore haven't been forced externally to change, you can see the exact same fights going on internally in those nations, with Confederate monuments in the United States, where some view it as ancestry, some view it as history, but others view it as the atrocity of their ancestry. And it's kind of the same here. Most Japanese do not agree with the war criminals being here. Most Japanese do not agree with the state having any connection to the shrine, and most Japanese do not agree with the ultra-nationalist right owning and controlling such an important shrine. And yet it's happening. Yet it's happening here. Yet it's happening in our countries. It's happening all over the world. And while this is certainly a unique place, if you look at all the tourists coming through, if you look at all the people coming through, it would be hard to call it rare. I certainly wouldn't say that this is rare earth. But in a certain respect, I think it should be. currently got a man following us who noticed that we were filming a documentary. And he's been following us for a couple minutes now. Not more. Just a few feet behind.